I like this version a heck of a lot more than I like the earlier version. Life's too short to not take chances. Our minds are our own limiters. We shackle ourselves and then we make excuses for our shackles. We just need to disconnect. We need to just let ourselves go back to zero and then charge back up again.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Pick Now podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Munn. Today, we have Karthik Ganesh, the CEO of OnMed. And, I think your entrepreneurial spirit goes back a long time, Karthik. You've had a couple exits along the way. You've had a very rich personal journey as well. Looking forward to diving in on all of that with you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on your podcast, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So let's start with OnMed. Like, what's the genesis of your involvement? I know you and I have talked about there are some things you kind of did along the way that were really about like kind of the corporate machinations and putting a product out there. But this seems a little more resonant for you, a little more purpose driven, if you will.
It
Tell
does.
me
And
about
so left my last company in the late spring, early summer of 23. Took
that.
an 8-month break. I had no plans to come off that break. One of the few mentors I have, friends that have incredibly enriched my life over the years is Ken Goulet. And
You and me both.
Ken, Ken knows me very well, and he knows what drives me as well. And Ken reached out to me in early 24 and said, "Hey, listen, I know you're on your break. I know I drilled it into you that when anyone calls you on your break, you just say no to them. But there's this company that I'm an investor in that I think just fits so perfectly with what motivates you. And I know you're looking for an oversized mission. And when you come, would you mind coming and checking it out?" And in true Ken's ultra polite fashion. And Jeff, over the last 10 years, especially 10, maybe 12 years, through my healthcare journeys, what's been very evident to me and evident to people who know me well, like Ken, is my, I'm going to call it bordering on obsession, but bordering on obsessive feeling around healthcare access. And I've been a very firm believer that for a country as blessed as we are, the ability for every single person to access healthcare should be a fundamental right.
Yeah.
And this is not about healthcare for all, the way it's been politically turned into an insurance conversation. I don't really care if the person is insured or not. That is not my perspective. My perspective is whether you can afford it or not, we should be able to take care of you as a society. And that has been very fundamental to my thinking. And that's been very fundamental to my thinking, not just as a professional, it's been fundamental to my thinking as a person. And, I am a student of Eastern philosophy. I have been that for the last 13 years. I'm sure we'll get into my personal story at some point. A life well lived, a life done right is going to be judged by what we've done in this lifetime for others. It is not going to be what we've done for ourselves. Quite frankly, it's not even going to be based on what we've done for our family, because our family is an extension for ourselves. What have we done for others? What have we done for people who quite possibly have no reason to ever do anything back for us? How have we fundamentally left the world around us in a better place as a result of this lifetime? Most of us work, We do the things that satisfy our, materialistic, capitalistic needs, and then to to feed the altruistic side of us, we look for ways to give back separate from work. When work consumes as much of the time as it does, the amount of time we have to give back just continues to shrink as we move farther along in our careers.
Yeah.
OnMed has singularly offered me the opportunity to give back while I'm working, and not in a stakeholder focused manner. That's how I differentiate a mission driven organization versus a purpose driven one. For me, a mission driven one is very stakeholder focused.
Yeah.
You're doing better for your investors, you're doing better for a customer, or you're doing better for, whatever the case might be. A purpose driven one is societal. You are improving society. You are lifting up society by virtue of what you're doing. And that is OnMed. What we're doing is, for this, at least in the US as a starting point, for this $5.1 trillion industry that continues to fixate on all the people, and not wrongfully so, but continues to fixate on all the people driving costs. We keep coming back to, well, X percentage of people drive Y percentage of the cost. What if we took care of the X percent properly? I completely get it. But
Yeah.
if the doorway to this house, that is healthcare, is broken,
Uh-huh.
we don't even know the universe of people who need care, or who have comorbidities, or who have chronic conditions. We keep focusing on this world that is presented to us by insurers as, this is the percentage that has a level of chronicity, or here's where the comorbidities come into play. There's 120 million Americans who don't have access to viable care, which tells, that's 1/3 of the country that we don't really know very much about in terms of what's going on with their health care. And
Right.
that's where we come in. We want to give them a way to access care. We want to partner with enterprise customers like payers, providers, employers, universities, state, local, federal government, to bring care to these people, while at the same time building an extremely defensible data moat around underserved America
Uh-huh.
that then becomes incredibly powerful as we think about amplifying or improving our public health system. Our public
So,
health system needs to understand underserved America better.
yeah. Well, and I think the paradox is that what you're saying is we're spending $5 trillion and we're not even addressing a third of the population.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's frightening.
That is frightening. If we look at the
So,
numbers, we're spending more than the next 15 countries combined.
yeah. So, I've talked with a lot of healthcare founders. Most of them, they have your passion about the system and maybe about different aspects. Yours seems to be about access, and I agree with your statement. It needs to be a fundamental right. Most of the founders that I've talked to about healthcare have some kind of healthcare story. Do you have a foundational healthcare story that you'd like
I
to
don't
share?
have a healthcare story. I don't have one. It is, my healthcare story, if there were one, would not have anything to do with access, because like the 240 million Americans who we do actually service effectively or semi-effectively as a country, I have financially, I've been blessed to have access to care when I needed access to care.
Mm-hmm.
So my passion for access has been less about a specific healthcare story, but it's been more about my healthcare journey.
Mm.
I think I've been very fortunate, Jeff, I'd like to think I've touched the healthcare system from all the angles it can be touched from, short of being not being a physician myself.
Ah,
I have, you look at, you're a former healthcare veteran. You understand, people enter plans, they spend a career in plans, or people enter PBMs, they make a career out of PBMs. They enter the health system arena, they spend a career in health systems and hospitals. I have run a PBM, I've run a health plan, I've helped stand up and operate value-based care companies, companies that have payer-provider strategies. I was a chief operating officer for a provider-sponsored health plan. I have touched provider-sponsored, value-based, PBM, care delivery, health tech. I have touched it from all of these angles. As you go through all of these intersections across the continuum of healthcare as we know it, you've got more lessons learned than best practices that come out of it.
mm-hmm.
And the singular greatest lesson learned for me every step of my journey has been when companies want to make more money, they choke out access first.
Mm.
And that has been, it's just been a grinding factor for me. It
Mm.
ticks me
Yeah,
off.
yeah,
You do money by making the system better. You don't make more money by excluding more people.
uh-huh.
Exclusion is never the answer
Yeah,
to getting better. And that's been our system. And then we go through COVID, and the words health equity now become, they don't become foreign to a lot of people. They've been foreign for the most part, but now suddenly people say, what the heck is this health equity? Really?
mm-hmm.
And then this
Mm-hmm.
virus, what is the deal? Is this virus racist? Is it
Mm.
sexist? It seems to go after people of color and women a heck of a lot more than white men.
Mm.
And you realize, listen, by excluding people of color and women from clinical trials, we just don't know enough about these populations. Again,
Wow.
exclusion comes back to hurt us as a society. And listen, I'm an immigrant. I came to this country 28 years ago. For me, the promise of America has been tomorrow's going to be better than today, and day after tomorrow, we're going to aim to be a better version of this country than tomorrow. In my mind, there are very few countries who aspire to be a
Mm-hmm.
better version of themselves day after day.
Mm-hmm.
We can't be a better version of ourselves by resorting to our worst behaviors. And
Right.
exclusion is a poor behavior.
Yeah, we're going to make it a better version of America for some subset of Americans.
That's right.
Yeah,
And the other sucks to be you. It's not okay.
yeah, yeah. So how does OnMed do this?
So we are a couple of things that we understand to be true. Um, I am a, I feel the success I've had over my career, with all humility, has come from a very heavy dose of pragmatism. I
Mm-hmm.
am not one of those people who say, well, you know what, if we had to change the healthcare system, how would we do it? You don't change a $5.1 trillion system and reinvent it. It doesn't happen. You've got to take what works and neutralize what does not. It's like people, right, Jeff, you're a coach. You
Mm-hmm.
amplify the strengths, you neutralize the blind spots.
Yeah.
This, the blind spots we have as a country today are the two modalities of care that have existed thus far. Brick and mortar care, too expensive to stand up a clinic, and we're running out of clinicians as a country. The AMA said we needed 200,000 more clinicians as of 5 years ago. We're producing about 16 or 17,000 a year. And there's an
And how many are
oversized percent.
retiring, right?
That's right. We have about
Yeah.
50% who are pre-retirees, right?
Yeah.
So then we look at COVID and we think, well, so brick and mortar has hit a ceiling. It's not getting past that. Then we go
Mm-hmm.
through COVID and we think this whole telemedicine thing is a silver bullet that's going to solve it all. 75 million Americans lack viable broadband, with 45 million having no broadband. And then in a modality that has no vitals, no scans, no biometrics, listen, I think it's useful in a lot of cases, but in most cases, you're phoning a friend. If you were on Who
Hmm.
Wants to Be a Millionaire, you don't have the answer, you go and do
Yeah.
telemedicine because you can have a person on the other end who's going to give you a viable answer. They
Yeah.
might not be able to diagnose very much because they can't even check your temperature as a part of the conversation,
Wow.
but they're
Yeah.
going to give you a viable answer. Okay. So, as against throwing out the baby with the bathwater, what OnMed does is it brings both of these together and creates a tech-enabled environment,
Hmm.
a hybrid care environment. It brings the best of brick and mortar. It brings the best of telemedicine, and it creates this 8 feet by 10 feet clinic in a box. It has all the diagnostics that you would expect in a primary care setting. It has, or an urgent care setting, it allows it, and it brings it, it's delivered via a clinician on a 65-inch screen in front of you. So you feel like the clinician's in the room with you, rapid scalability as a result of that. You're in this private, secure, soundproof environment. The glass is fogged. No one can see you from the outside. No one can hear you on the outside. In a completely sanitized, uh, bias-free environment. And you're
Wow.
having a conversation with a clinician on a 65-inch screen. And in 86% of the cases, she can diagnose exactly what's going on with you because you've got the diagnostics and the scanning and the vitals right there. She can write you a script. She can refer you to a specialist. Or in, again, 86% of the cases you're taken care of inside of the care station.
Wow.
78% of the people who come to the care station tell us that we are their medical home.
Wow.
54% tell us that if they had not come to the care station, they would have gone to the ER. We have a 37% return rate to the care station, which is a higher percentage of stickiness than
Hmm.
any other aspect of the American healthcare system. The only
Hmm.
things that are stickier are the pediatrician with the kid, where I would argue there's a mandate of school forms, this, that, and the other that's involved
Sure.
in it. Or if you are really sick, you've got cancer and you've got a relationship with your oncologist, but that is a relationship as a result of the disease. The
Hmm.
stickiness is not with the doctor.
Uh-huh.
37% of the people who walk into the care station return for a follow-up visit within the first 12 months, which is an unparalleled stickiness factor. And they come back with no mandate, no requirement, an underserved community that, by virtue of being underserved, is unshackled.
Uh-huh.
There's no one drawing them back in. They're coming of their own accord.
And when they come back, are they seeing
Yeah.
the same
For most
practitioner?
part, they're seeing the same. For most part, they're seeing the same practitioner, but we've got their longitudinal records. We were able to
Uh-huh.
pick up with them where they left off.
Uh-huh.
Our clinicians are cultural competency is an extremely important factor for us. So if you're a patient in West Alabama, you're going to be seen by somebody who is very comfortable with the
Uh-huh.
demographic of West Alabama
Yeah.
and can can address it appropriately. If you speak Creole, you're going to have a person who can handle Creole with you. If you're in
Yeah.
South Florida, same West Texas, etc. This has not been a rural health solution. This has been a rural, suburban, urban. Continues to demonstrate that underserved America is not in rural America alone.
Yeah.
I mean, we see the stat. I mean, we talk about how much we care about our vets. 80% of military bases are care deserts.
Mm.
So we talk about what we care about our military. I mean, listen, I think we can be doing a whole lot more.
Yeah.
We've deployed these care stations, and the deployments have been fascinating. We've again, as I mentioned, our clients are payers, providers, employers, universities, etc. But we've deployed these in a fascinating arena of places. We've got care stations in homeless shelters, senior centers, children's centers, prisons,
Wow.
airport.
Uh-huh.
It's again, healthcare anywhere is our motto, and we're delivering this in partnership with the people who are responsible for providing care. Because I think one thing that I think most people forget or choose to ignore is that 80% of commercial premiums are picked up by employers,
Mm-hmm.
and on the government side, it's picked up by the government,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So approximately 80% of the American healthcare system is being paid for by enterprise customers.
Right.
It's not being paid for by the patient, which is why I feel digital health companies that continue to propagate a B2C model continue to find no pathway to profitability because the consumers, the patients in this ecosystem cannot drive enough money to make you a viable business. You have to go after it via the folks who are naturally trained to improve healthcare in the country. You have to follow the flow of money. If
Yeah.
you don't, you can't build a viable healthcare business.
So how does that work for OnMed and for these stations?
Yeah.
Who's paying
Who's
for
paying for
that?
them?
What's the ROI?
It's
How does that all
payers
that work?
again. All enterprise customers, B2B. Even our payer customers are not taking this through the insurance mumbo jumbo. They're
Uh-huh.
paying a they're paying a subscription fee,
Okay.
and it's a subscription fee based, and what they're getting out of it, even for a payer, they're getting. You go to I live outside of New York City. New York Presbyterian, as an example, it's got one of the longest wait times from an ER standpoint.
Wow.
ER wait times are obscenely high across the country. We know that.
Yeah. Hmm.
It's not because we've got too few ERs. It's because the people who are showing up at the ER have no business being at the ER. 70% of the people who show up at the ER are for non-emergent reasons.
Right.
What if you get them to a place where they could be seen first, triaged, taken care of if they can be taken care of? That way, only the ones who are truly emergent show up at the ER.
Hmm.
That's where an OnMed comes in. So for a payer or a provider, we are handling ER diversion from their standpoint. We are closing the provider gap, just like
Hmm.
any other infrastructure utility. You look at the ratios that we use for building roads, building power grids, building water tanks. It's 1:10,000. We have the exact same ratio. We see the care station as a platform play, but we also see it as a fundamental healthcare infrastructure play. With a ratio of 10,000 people being able to use a care station now, each time you put a care station in a community that is a care desert, and you can now bring care to 10,000 more people, you've closed the provider gap by 10,000 people. You've closed care gaps by virtue of that as well. So the ROI comes in a number of different flavors.
Uh-huh.
And so we've really called it our KPIs are more impact driven.
Hmm.
Utilization by itself doesn't tell a story. Urban communities have higher utilization, lower acuity. Rural communities have lower utilization, higher acuity. One of our
Interesting.
largest clients is Auburn University and what they've done in West Alabama across a number of stations. And the lady who runs the Rural Health Initiative for Auburn would tell you, she would say, the care station has saved lives. You cannot put a price on what the care station has done for these rural communities in West Alabama. And that's where we come in. So it has been an enterprise play, and that has also been the clearest pathway to creating a company that is, at this point in time, remarkably close to profitability.
Yeah, I was going to ask where you were on that path.
We're very
And
close.
how long has OnMed been in existence? I know Ken
OnMed's been
talked to me about
around.
it recently,
Yeah,
but
OnMed's been around for about 12 years. I joined
okay.
about a little over 2 years ago. The first 10 years, I think the company was it was more R&D, and the company was finding itself a little bit.
Hmm.
Things happen when they're supposed to. The market wasn't probably as ready as well. We started, we have reframed the product and really started active commercialization over the last 2+ years
Uh-huh.
on my
Uh-huh.
watch, and the product market fit is there. We're making a difference. The brand is growing at a phenomenal clip. Um, we won CES last year. We were Times Best Inventions last year. This year we started the year off with by winning the Edison Award, which is a global infrastructure award. I think they evaluate about 20,000 companies globally, and we were one of the winners of the Edison Award. Um, the brand is on fire. People people are starting to know us,
Yeah.
and my dream is that someday OnMed will be a verb.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it.
If you're unwell, did you OnMed?
Uh-huh. I like it. Um, so you mentioned your spiritual journey earlier.
Yeah.
How has that influenced the way you lead and the way you're building this company?
Yeah, I know. For me, there's a couple of things that hold very true personally and professionally, which has been very natural to my leadership style. No what ifs. You leave everything on the table. You can't wake up tomorrow and think that you could have done something differently yesterday. That's just unacceptable. That's
Mm-hmm.
one. Second, you give it your all. You give the journey your all. You do not control the outcome. If you obsess over the outcome, you're obsessing over the wrong thing. You've got to be brilliant at the process. You've got to be brilliant at the journey. Again,
Mm-hmm.
you've got to approach the journey with a spirit of, I'm going to do everything I possibly can to make it happen.
Yeah.
But then whatever the outcome may be, you say thank you accept it, and if it's not the outcome you wanted, you try something different. But you start with a thank you.
Yeah.
That's the second part to it. The third part to it is the North Star has to be crystal clear, and the North Star has to come from the CEO.
Mm.
People, if your leader, the leader of the organization, does not exhibit every single day, no exceptions, does not exhibit the values of the company or the values the company holds sacred. If the leader, if any employee of the company does not know exactly where the leader of the company stands in terms of their thinking and what's important to them, I don't think you're really a leader at that point in time. So for me, communication is over communication is incredibly important, and which has to come with, so over communication has to be accompanied with a very healthy dose of both vulnerability and humility.
Mm.
And you have to bring both to the table, or you will lose your people. But if you were to ask anybody who has worked for me and with me over the years, especially over the last 10, 12 years, they would tell you that the words that you can expect to come out of Karthik's mouth are no what ifs.
Yeah.
If you had no shackles, how high would you soar?
Mm.
I feel our minds are our own limiters. We have been built to soar. We shackle ourselves, and then we make excuses for our shackles.
Yeah.
If we felt untethered, how high could we soar? If you felt untethered and you felt that every hiccup was nothing more than just that, a hiccup, you're unstoppable.
Yeah.
That
It's
is
just,
true freedom.
it's information or it's a clue or it's data. It's not
It's not
failure.
fact. It's
People
not
turn
failure.
things
There's no
into
failure.
failure. Yeah. Failure is just
I
a
think we
word.
get, it is a word, we get caught up, right? I mean, life is filled with dualities. Win,
Hmm.
loss, wealth, poverty. I think we get caught up in the dualities of life. We just need to accept them for what they are. They're just states.
Yeah.
Don't get caught up in, let's not, we get so hung up on tagging things. I think we just need to get past the tagging of things. Just be. I believe that is freedom. So my spiritual journey for me has been, if I had to call out what it has done for me as a person and as a leader, it has been, I would say it's been incredibly freeing.
Mm.
I tell people this all the time, especially I remember the one time when at my last company, very early stages when the founder and I had a brief argument, I said, you gotta look at my desk. I've got two pictures on my desk. It takes me about 10 seconds to clear out my desk and walk out the door. I've got nothing
Mm.
else. Do you realize when you're that light, do you realize how free that feels? And it's a fact.
Yeah.
We moved from Jersey to, I'm personally a minimalist. I have a total of 87 personal things.
Wow.
And so when we moved about 4 years ago from Jersey to Connecticut, I joke with my wife about it, though she doesn't find it very funny. I I packed all of my things. I mean, we loaded stuff into the truck, the kids' stuff. Everything went
Yeah,
in a truck, but in a container. But I packed all of my stuff in my car and drove across state lines.
yeah. Uh-huh.
That's all I had.
Yeah.
And it is, people think freedom comes from more because we've created this maximalist mindset,
Right.
right? The
Right.
more we have, the easier it's going to be. But that's
Right.
not true because the more you have, the more time you spend trying to protect it.
Right.
There's a fascinating parable, Jeff, and I will leave you with that because that also influences the way I approach my leadership. There's a parable about these two friends. One is a monk, one is an extremely rich man. They're looking to cross a river. They get into the boat. It's a little late in the evening to get into the boat. They start rowing to the other side of the river. They get to the other bank. A bunch of and they get accosted by a bunch of highway robbers. And the robbers say the robbers ask the monk, "What do you have?" He says, "I really got nothing. You can take my life, but I got nothing else to offer up."
Yeah.
So the rich guy gives he's got this expensive watch. He gives them a watch. He gives them the gold on his body, etc. And they say, "Okay," he goes. The rich guy says, he looks at the monk and he looks at his friend, the monk, and says, "Look, you're a failure. The fact that I had all of this is what saved our lives." The monk says, "But it's the fact that you gave it all away is why you're still having this conversation with me.
Yeah.
If you still had it, we would not be having this conversation."
Yeah.
Less is more. And that is a philosophy. Simplicity is a core value at OnMed. In fact, we have a stated goal that by October of this year, 50% of all our business operations will be agent-driven. We continue to shed more. We are simplifying our processes. We're simplifying how we do things. We're clawed on overdrive, and that's where we're going.
Yeah, I was going to ask if AI was impacting all this, and it sounds like it's having a pretty
Yeah, AI is
dramatic.
a huge part of our.
Not
I
surprising.
mean,
Yeah.
we're it's our model, right? Healthcare plus hardware plus software plus AI.
Yeah. So where, if you want to take this minimalism thread
Yeah.
back, when does that insight happen? Like what causes you to think, oh yeah, less is actually more? Because I think a lot of people get that on an intellectual level, but when it comes down to
Yeah.
actually doing it, it's like,
Yeah.
well, not
It's a
that.
tough one. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, Jeff, this is both personal and professional, and I will tell you again, it is been married for 26 years, and my wife's a saint for sticking it out with me.
Mm.
But every single morning after I'm done with whatever I need to do, my my brief reflection period, meditation, whatever I do in the morning, the first order of business for me is to ask myself if there's anything all the way through yesterday, any decisions, let's take work as an example, any decisions
Uh,
all the way through yesterday that I could do without today.
mm.
And everything is up for grabs.
Hmm.
So if you're on my leadership team, your tap dancing shoes are always on because we could have made a decision yesterday that might be defunct today, right?
Yeah.
But there are no sacred cows.
Uh,
I do not have a rear view mirror.
hmm.
You drive forward, looking in the rear view mirror, you're going to have an accident.
Yeah.
It does not come easily, Jeff, and you and I both know that. This has come from years and years of deliberate practice. It's come from a conditioning of the mind to consistently not anchor decisions and believe them to be fact. Decisions are what they are in that moment in time.
Yeah.
Resilience is being able to adjust that decision if the situation demands a change. Changing your mind is not a sign of weakness. Changing your mind is a sign of strength, because it means you are more adaptable.
Yeah.
And I think we all understand Darwin's perspective on adaptability and the survival of the fittest as a part of that.
Yeah.
The ones who are the most adaptable can mentally and physically thrive. The ones who are not adaptable are the ones who had 3-year strategies through COVID, stuck to those strategies, and have companies that are worth nothing on the heels of it.
Right. I think there's something in what you said. The thing that I notice coming up for me is this: most people tend to think that decisions are a lot more permanent than they are. And because of that, they end up taking a lot more time to make those decisions, and often putting them off because they feel permanent or they feel heavy, and they just don't see that. Just do something, and
That's
then
right.
learn from that, and then do the next thing, and then
That's
learn from that,
exact.
and
You
then do
nailed
the
it.
next. Yeah.
Jeff, you nailed it. And I would say that most people, everyone who's ever worked for me would tell you that there's a strong bias for action and I make decisions extremely fast.
Mm-hmm.
And it is unnerving, I'm sure, for people around me sometimes that the decisions get made that fast. But I'd much rather make the decision and learn from it
Yeah.
than not make a decision and
Yeah.
not know. It's a 50-50 shot whether it's the right decision or not. But if you make the decision and it's the wrong decision, then you at least knew it was the
Yeah.
wrong decision because you took a chance.
Right.
Life's too short to not take chances.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I don't think people really, because it feels like they're preserving their options. I don't think people see the cost of making decisions slowly.
You're right.
I was
You
talking
don't.
with a client yesterday who he lost his assistant. And so this was probably 4 months ago. And he's had it down to 2 candidates for his new assistant. And he can't decide because he's afraid of making a wrong decision. And we
So,
were just going through
December.
the costs of the delay, the things that he is doing, that this assistant, even a bad assistant, could be doing, the
You're
impact on the
exactly right.
company, the downstream effects.
December
So
of
just pick one. It's almost flip a coin.
December of 2024. January of 2024. I think it was the first or second week. Hired a new assistant. 2 days in, realized, man, that the lady could not even get an email out
Uh,
properly. I let her go
yeah.
in 2 days. I've got probably one of the most amazing chief people officers I've ever worked with in my career. This lady goes and she reaches out to this firm, and they get this resume in front of me for this lady who's spent a career in the hedge fund space, and just an incredible resume. I was like, listen, that's intriguing. Something tells me this is an intriguing resume. I should meet this person. I said, forget about doing this call over the phone. The lady lived in Greenwich as well. I said, let me meet her for coffee.
Yeah.
Met her for coffee, made an offer to her on the spot. And a year and a half in, probably one of the best decisions I've made.
Yeah.
And you're right, the opportunity cost of not having an assistant and trying to grow a business would have been a heck of a lot more than making the wrong decision. Every decision is reversible. The Buddha says you're not a tree, right? You're not a tree.
Right.
You don't like the situation, move it. Or the
Yeah.
modern day Buddha. I'm a huge fan of Mad Men. Did you watch the show?
Oh yeah. I've watched it. I think I've watched it all the way through at least 3 times.
Yeah, I
Love that
agree
show.
with you. And the Don Draper comment, if you don't like the conversation, change it.
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant. Listen, every
Yeah.
decision is reversible. You don't like
Yeah.
it, change it, but don't not make a decision because of it.
Right. Right. Exactly. Well, and I think that, that point about attachment comes into play too, because I think it's easier when you're like, I used to think if things didn't work out the way that I thought they were going to work out, that I had somehow failed, that I was somehow a bad person, that somehow had some character flaw. And then you realize, no, it's just like kind of luck of the draw. And it really oftentimes has nothing to do with you. You take your best shot.
You take
And
your best.
we are a world built around attachment to results. How do you convince
We are.
people that you lead that you truly are not attached to the results, and that they will be more free to make the right choice if they're not either? How do you get that
Yep.
through to
So
people?
you can't talk about it. You have to demonstrate it,
Yeah.
and people have to live that journey with you a little bit. People who live that journey with you a little bit realize that there is nothing more freeing, and as a result of that, they want to follow you on your other journeys.
Mm,
My COO and I have, in one way, shape, or form, worked together for the last 15 years. I've known my CTO for the last 17.
yeah.
It's They kind of want to come back and they want to feel that freedom again.
Hmm.
They want to feel like it's amazing. You feel the most in control when you let it go.
Yeah.
We tend to hold it closer and we think that's control.
Yeah.
Actually, letting go offers much greater control because at that time you're not bound.
Yeah.
What could be more freeing than not feeling again shackled? So people have to experience it. It is again. I mean, listen. I think again, Jeff. You know this because we've talked about this in the past. This comes from a lot of practice. It's not a flip of the switch. You have to continually work your mind. You have to transform your mind to a point where, initially you try these behaviors and the mind says, no, zip it. I'm going to try controlling you. We've always had this
Hmm.
dynamic. You can't do this. Let's be clear, I'm in charge. And then
Right.
after a while, you know, you tell the mind, no, listen, man, you were in charge, but not really. I'm letting go right now. And you realize the mind is no different from any other muscle from a memory standpoint, where after a period of time, it says, man, you know, I really want to push back on you, but you're going to tell me to shut up anyway? Just go for it. Right?
Yeah.
I'm going to let you do your thing, and I'm just going to be on the journey with you. When your mind is at that place, it is just unbelievable.
One that the interesting thing about what you've just said is, we could get into a lot of conversation about what is the mind, but
Yeah.
a lot of these voices in our heads are voices from childhood stuff. I mean, it's like programs that are running that aren't even valid anymore, and yet we're treating this as like the operating
As
system for
gospel.
our life
You're
instead
exactly
of like
right. And
questioning it. It's like, is this really what I want to do?
you're exactly right. Unlearning is the greatest gift you could give yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Can I ask you, do you have a regular
Sure.
meditation practice?
I used to, Jeff, I had that for about 5 years. I would meditate on a regular basis. And then I realized that doing it separate from my day was the wrong answer because it becomes
Yeah,
like a massage, right? Most
right.
people say, well, I can't have a good day if I don't meditate, which in itself betrays the entire idea of meditation. It's
Yeah,
like a massage, right? I got a backache. I go to the spa. I get worked on. I come out for about an hour. I feel really good at the backache. I haven't really fixed the root cause. The aches back at the end of it, right?
yeah.
So I realized I needed to bring my ability to quieten things down into my work day.
So it's an
So
ongoing thing for you. We
so it's
could
an
call it
ongoing thing. So I would actually so
mindfulness.
the way I experimented with this was I think for about 6 months, I would go to the temple every Sunday morning, which is usually when it's the busiest, and
Mm,
there's this chanting, this stuff happening out there,
yeah.
and I would sit out there when it was the noisiest, and I would just try to drown everyone out.
Yeah.
And I realized the notion of you've got to be in a quiet place to meditate was not true. Then I started having fun with it and saying, well, could I almost treat the, the, the sounds around me like I would an amplifier? And I
Mm,
realized I could mentally drown out or amplify all of the sounds.
yeah.
So I have, again, a lot of practice over the years, very blessed by the ability to do this, but I can sit in the midst of noise and just shut down and go inside.
Yeah.
And I tell people there is no animal more powerful than a turtle.
Mm,
When it senses, when it feels, it can't move fast. But
yeah.
when external pressures, it feels the impact of all the stuff happening around it that is disconcerting, it goes into its shell, it shuts the world out.
Yeah.
What an incredible life lesson.
Yeah. I one of my favorite places, I started noticing this a few years ago that I would fall into this meditative calm in airports. There was just something about the chaos, like there was
The
so
chaos.
much chaos that I was just able to like, and it wasn't even an active tuning out. It was just like, oh yeah, just kind of be with all of the noise and chaos and unpredictability. And it's just, I love airports for that reason. Yeah. Most people are totally stressed out in airports, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh, my happy place. And I think it's interesting because there are two main schools of meditation. I mean, we can talk about vinyasa or not
Yeah.
vinyasa. Vinyasa is yoga. What's the insight meditation? What's the
Vipassana.
um, vipassana? Yeah, thank you. But they're either focused, like single point meditative, like focus on a candle, focus on your breath, focus on a mantra, or there are practices that are more about like fully opening yourself up and just kind of absorbing everything, like open awareness meditation. And they each train us to do different things, and I find both of them valuable.
Yeah. I, for me, it has been every single resilience for me has come from making every aspect of my inner journey just a part of who I am, which then just becomes a part of me as a parent, me as a spouse, me as
Yeah,
an employee, me as a leader. Um, it just becomes naturally a part of me, and that way I don't have to ever figure out which version of me needs to show up. It's just you know we tell our kids, you get what you get and you don't get upset, and
right.
you get
Yeah,
what you get.
yeah. I know, this has been a while ago now, but you had a daughter who died, and I have to think that had a big I mean, I know my father died when I was young, for example. It had a huge impact on me. Like, how did that impact you, and did that impact your spiritual journey as well?
Yeah, I would say I was probably always a good person, but I never really thought about a spiritual journey or a journey at all prior to my
Hmm.
daughter passing. I was motivated by my career. I was motivated by wanting to earn a lot of money, um,
Mm,
and I was motivated by the fact that I was always crazily in love with my wife. So I knew my marriage would was a strength for me. It was about accumulating strengths. And my daughter passed. I had a ton of questions. Why? Why me? Why now? Why her?
Yeah.
And I found the answers within, not without.
Mm.
And I continue to find the answers. I continue to have an active relationship with my daughter as a result of that.
Mm.
I She's my conscience. When I do things, it's very important to me that I don't let her down.
Mm.
When the deeper I go within, the more with her I am. When I hit a fork in the road, or a perceived fork in the road in my head, she's the first one to remind me that there are no forks in the road, and the forks in the road are only man-made. I just
Yeah.
need to go with what I believe is right, because what I believe in is what is the decision I'm making in this moment, and there's nothing else besides now.
Mm.
She reminds me of that. And I would say there is no facet of who I am today that I would not attribute to her, or to her passing.
Wow.
There is no version of if I could talk about myself in the third person for a second, there is no version of the version of Karthik prior to my daughter does not exist. It's been 13 years. And I like this version a heck of a lot more than I like the earlier version, even if it had to come at a cost. And I believe that cost was a part of my journey. That was my karma. And
Mm.
and paying down that price is going to has made me a better human being. So that was her. That was the ultimate gift she gave her dad.
Yeah. Well,
She
and
gave and keeps giving.
part of her karma was to give that gift to you.
Correct. Give that gift and keeps giving. She's
Yeah.
firmly embedded. Talk to her all the
And
time.
now is influencing how you lead in the world, who you lead in
That's
the world,
exactly right.
what you lead in the world,
How I lead in
what's
the world,
important
and
to you.
equally, and influencing the kind of father I am to my two sons.
Mm. Yeah.
And I'm a different dad than I was to her. I mean, uh, there's something about being a girl dad, right? So
Mm.
the I will always be a girl dad. The She has made me value my time with my boys every single
Mm.
day,
Mm.
and without taking anything for granted, more than I would have without that life lesson.
Yeah. Well, you were talking about like the corporate life and the corporate drive, and I can relate to that. And I think there's this story that in particular men tell themselves that we're outside of the house and we're the providers and we're like, and that we're doing it for them, and it's not.
No,
It's not.
no.
It's not true.
For me, it's not true at all. I mean, for me, it is crystal clear in my head. Any success I have, my daughter has framed the kind of leader I am, and any success I've had professionally is 100% attributable to my wife.
Yeah.
Just been super fortunate to have a cast of characters around me who've made me show up a heck of a lot better than I actually am.
Yeah. Well, and you've had the capacity and the wisdom to receive that,
For that, I
to
am
receive
fortunate
what
and
they've had
blessed.
to offer.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
true.
I think there's this incredible paradox, and I struggle with how to express it. Between you use the word unshackled, which is really beautiful. Um, we're so driven, and we're driven to achieve, to prove ourselves, to because we have these stories of I'm not enough or I need more or all of that. And I have had clients tell me that they're terrified to let go of that because they're afraid, in their words, to lose their edge. And yet, when you do let go of that, you're free to create so much more because it's no
I'll
longer
tell you,
about you,
you're
right?
exactly right. I mean, the
Yeah.
best advice that, we talked about Ken up front, the best advice that Ken gave me, especially after my last gig, and before my last one as well, I had taken a 6 month break, but it was an action packed 6 month break. I'd written a book, I'd done a bunch of stuff. This one, he said, Karthik, listen, you just need to disconnect.
Mm.
And it was, and it was invaluable, the advice, because my tank was fully charged up
Yeah.
when I joined OnMed for me to be able to give everything I had to offer again.
Hmm.
And to your point about this desire to control is also what prevents people from just breathing and taking a break. They feel they need to go from one thing to the next thing to the next thing to the next thing, and if they don't, to your point, exactly as you said, they feel they lose their edge. No,
Hmm.
the I think I find it fascinating, right? With the iPhones and your Apple devices at large, Apple always tells you the best way to ensure longevity of the battery life is to let them charge down all the way from time to time.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
They don't tell you each time it hits 60, don't go and charge it back to 100.
Yeah.
They tell you let it drain down all the way and charge it back up.
Uh-huh.
It's a fascinating parallel to us as humans. We
Yeah.
need to just let ourselves go back to zero and then charge back up again. And I think without that, we're um, we're just not helping ourselves or our families. And we think we are, we're not.
How do you do that for you?
I For me, the for most part, when I'm working, I'm working, and when I'm with my family, I'm with my family. I try
Hmm.
not to mingle the two as far as possible. That's one. But second, these it's called the mini retirements between gigs.
Uh-huh.
I mean, my last, I took 8 months off, and 8 months
Yeah.
were before OnMed, were a complete shutdown. I did absolutely nothing.
And you were able to
The,
let go of the next idea of like, well, if I stay out too long, I might not be able to. It was
no, it
just,
didn't bother me. It didn't bother me.
yeah.
Listen, Jeff, for
Oh,
me,
love that.
a big part of my journey has been a complete. We are the Earth is an irrelevantly small part of the universe. And
Yes.
we are an absolutely irrelevantly minuscule part of the most tiny portion of the earth.
Right.
Every single thing in the universe is happening exactly as it was supposed to, or things would go completely haywire.
Yeah.
Our belief that we are smarter and we control is just ridiculous. So for
Yeah.
me, I am very, very comfortable. I push, 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 but then at a certain point, my body automatically just says, all right, Karthik, pause. I embrace the fact that the universe is telling me, listen, I'm closing all of these doors for you because it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
I surrender, and the universe points me in a different direction. So for me, taking that 8 month break was a complete surrender, knowing that the right opportunity, whatever it was, would present itself. And if it wasn't the right one, I wouldn't feel like doing it.
Hmm. So for someone who's running a company or even someone who's a law firm partner who's watching this, who's kind of caught up in the daily grind, caught up in the achievement cycle, what's a small way to push that door open a little bit to begin to see some of those possibilities? Because it's easy to hear someone talk, yeah, Karthik, well, yeah, he's running a company and he's got this and he's got that and he's only got 87 things, and easy for him to say. Like what's
I would
what's
tell them, I would tell them to read The Alchemist.
mm,
There is no, I read it every single year.
mm,
It's not, the main protagonist isn't a CEO or a person who's got 87 things or anything to that effect.
yeah.
It's a shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
There is no, there is no greater book
Mm,
that teaches you surrender and gratitude
yeah.
than The Alchemist.
Well, that is a beautiful place to end this conversation, Karthik, and I am very grateful that we were able to have it. Thank you
Thank you for
for
having me.
being willing to go so deep. And if you enjoy conversations like this, I'd encourage you to tune into all the episodes of the Pick Now podcast. Thank you for watching, for listening, and we will see you next time. Take care.